And welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Once again, I am going to attempt to do something about our stranded hero, Jebediah Kerman, who is trapped on the surface of Duna in a downed spacecraft that does not have enough fuel to launch, and even if it did, it probably wouldn't matter because it's laying on its side. And it has, let's see, 10.2 liters of fuel remaining. So it's not going anywhere. And by the way, I have tried to use the thrusters and landing legs and whatnot to set this thing upright, and it just simply isn't going to happen. The most that will happen is I'll end up breaking the engine off or breaking off landing legs. That's not going to do it. So I'm going to return to the Space Center. And going to go ahead here with an accelerated build because I figure this build is going to take a while, and I will do a voiceover and video editor to explain exactly what it is that I'm doing. All right, you see, what happened was that a couple of days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, I did a live stream of Kerbal Space Program in which I took a copy of this LP world and decided to run a test flight of my lander to Duna to see if I could actually get it there and do a safe landing somewhere close to Jebediah. And the mission went okay, fairly routine through most of it. I actually did arrive at Duna, and I got into Duna orbit, and I landed. And I wasn't all that hideously far from Jebediah. I think he would have had to walk probably, I forget, 10 or 15 kilometers. It would have been a long, boring walk, but he could have done it. Except there was one little problem. The lander used most of its fuel getting down onto the surface of Duna. And then, of course, I come to find out that I was using the wrong save, and Jebediah was nowhere to be seen. And so I figured, okay, I know I don't have enough fuel for a return trip, but let's see what we can do with liftoff, see what we can do with what we've got. And so I lifted off, and I was able to achieve a reasonably high-ish kind of orbit around Duna, but that was it. Then I ran out of fuel trying to expand that orbit into an escape towards Kerbin. And so I decided that the thing to do would be to look into a way to refuel the ship once it arrived at Duna. And that's when I thought of the kethane pack. The kethane pack is a series of parts that are designed to locate, mine, convert, and pump kethane. Kethane being basically a methane analog. It's a gas. It's, as far as I can tell, it's green, and it is found all over the Kerbin system, on most planets and moons, in fact. And the kethane pack includes a kethane detector, a pumping system to pump it between ships, a conversion system that can convert it into liquid fuel or RCS fuel, and of course a mining unit, a drill, to mine it out of the ground. And so that's what this ship is all about, is to get to Duna, use as much fuel as it needs in order to achieve a safe landing in the desired location, after taking time in orbit to map kethane deposits, and its landing spot will be on the kethane deposit that is closest to where Jebediah Kerman is landed. And then Jebediah Kerman will get out of his ship and he will walk to where this thing is parked. Meanwhile, this thing will be mining kethane, converting it to fuel and RCS fuel, and storing more kethane in the onboard strapped-on tanks on the sides there, and on the, above the side fuel tanks on the upper stage, so that this thing will have all the fuel it needs, not only for liftoff from Duna, but for return to Kerbin, and a safe return and splashdown or landing or whatever there. That's what the story is with all of this. Now, I have to also say that this video took the better part of 3 days in the making, and something in the neighborhood of at least 14 attempts before I finally had a result that I was willing to use in making a video. And so that's where we're at, and that's where we're going. We're going to mine kethane on another planet and convert it into fuel so that we can get home. Thanks for watching. Enjoy.
All right, here we are on the launch pad with Ludloff Kerman, Bill Kerman, and Welsherby Kerman piloting this ship. And if you thought it looked big in the VAB, have a look at it here. It is huge, but I think it's up to the task. So, first thing we have to do is get out the Protractor, which is a really great mod that shows you it's a help to know when to burn for interplanetary destinations, or even for other bodies around the thing that you're on, in this case Moon or Minmus. But right now we're going to Duna. Now I'll switch out to the map view. What we have to do is advance time until Kerbin is behind Duna by about 44 or 45 degrees or so, and I'll know when that's true when this phase angle number here reaches 0. So I'm going to advance time and warp ahead until launch day. All right, we are in position. Kerbin is in the right position relative to Duna, and so we will now launch. SAS on, precision controls, throttle up, turn off the Protractor for right now, and let's go. As big as this thing is, it is working. And accelerating. A little slowly at first, but it's doing it. We'll lose a couple of side stages and a lot of mass here real soon. Going through the fuel in these stages really quickly. 247 liters per second. Stage those away. We continue to climb. Aiming for a roughly 100 kilometer or so orbit. Fuel being used at 140 liters per second now. We'll stage these outer stages away, and then we'll begin a gravity turn. All right, we're in position, so everything's ready to go, and let us go. "99 kilometers altitude and falling faster and faster." It's not going to happen. Okay, we're once again back at the launch pad because that last take didn't work any more than the previous 3 or 2 or however many. So we're going to end the flight and go into the vehicle assembly building and see what we can do about some additional boost. Let's see. And here we are back on the launch pad, and we are still close enough to the launch window to go ahead and go for launch. So SAS on, precision controls, throttle up, pull back so I can see this thing, and engage that, and let us launch. We have a somewhat quicker liftoff, certainly more acceleration. And we're halfway through the boosters. They might well go at the same time as these outer tanks. No, they'll go a little bit before. They'll help us out for the first 2,500 to 3,000 meters of altitude. There goes the boosters. But the numbers don't lie. I don't think we're going to make it. In fact, we're not. All right. As you can guess, previous attempt, the last one did not work, so I'm going to try something else. And we're going to back to the VAB again. And we're going to strap some solid boosters onto that upper stage. Up here. All right, here we go. Ludlow, Bill, and Welsherby are becoming very used to this little situation here. Let's see if we can't put them into orbit and have them get used to something else. Yes, so let's go. So far looking good. Solid boosters giving it a nice little shot of assistance and getting it up and moving. Losing the solid boosters in just a minute. And there they go. Losing the side liquid, first set of liquid boosters in a minute. Going through fuel at a tremendous rate. Climbing and accelerating. Alright. I think we've got a chance now. I double-checked some things in the VAB, and there was some staging that was a little bit out of order, so I think that might have been the problem. So, let's do this. Good. Booster separation was nice and clean. I see a potential problem here. These are set to stage second, and these are set to stage first, but these are running out of fuel first. I'm about as close to a rage quit as I've been in a long time. All right. And we try this again. Certainly hope that wasn't anything important that exploded when those boosters separated. So far, so good. I don't see this happening. I've got a good lander here. It's just a question of, can I get this blasted thing into orbit? I'm really beginning to wish I had not taken the space dock down, because having this part of the ship built in orbit would be enough. Alright, in the finest of Kerbal traditions, I have added another pair of solid boosters to the bottom stage, which means there are now 6 boosters there, in addition to the 5 liquid engines that will be firing up. So, let's see how this goes. Accelerating very nicely. Solid booster separation coming up. Should be seeing 6 of them fly away. And there they go. Flying smoothly, gaining altitude, accelerating. Everything a good rocket should do. (2,630 meters per second). This is so close to being a real orbit. We're losing velocity. Periapsis is going back down. Our altitude is too low. Alright, for this version of the ship, SQ-3C, I have eliminated 2 of the 3,200 liter fuel tanks, reducing the ship's mass considerably, and now the first 3 stages from liftoff will have a thrust to weight ratio of better than 2. Which means I think this thing might actually have a better chance of getting into orbit. So, let's try it and find out. Throttle up, SAS on, precision controls, and let's do it. Takeoff is nice and smooth, accelerating a lot quicker and faster than its predecessors. Okay, we have 6 SRBs approaching burnout. And there they go. Nice clean separation. Very nearly at 10 kilometers already. This is encouraging. Getting ready to lose another set of boosters. And there they go. Nice clean separaton separation. Beginning more of a gravity turn. Apoapsis is getting close to being twice our altitude. This is very encouraging. Pitching over a little more now. Begin building up some horizontal velocity. Losing the last set of side boosters. Apoapsis at 71 kilometers and climbing. Pitching over again to 45 degrees. This is doing much better than the predecessors. So it looks like we might actually get this flying refinery to Duna this time. And have a chance to rescue Jebediah. Apoapsis 103 and climbing. I'm going to pitch over to 15 degrees. Apoapsis should continue to climb, and we'll start gaining a lot of horizontal velocity. And it looks like we'll actually make orbit this time. This is looking very encouraging. Final booster separation. And now for ignition of the last bit here. 3 Nervas and 2 SRBs. Velocity going up very quickly. Pitching over to 0. Final SRBs are gone. And it looks like we're on the way to orbit. We're still gaining in altitude. Apoapsis is 190 kilometers and climbing still. And we are at 1,767 meters per second in velocity. Still continuing to accelerate. It's more slowly now, but we have time this time, because we are well ahead of the Apoapsis. And our orbital arc is visibly expanding. this is the most encouraging flight I've had yet out of the, I forget however many there's been. It's been a very long day in trying to get this mission flown. I think this time it's actually going to work. I'm going to go ahead and pitch back up to 10 degrees. I'm not concerned about the apoapsis going up. In fact, if it goes up before we get to it, then I will consider this a good thing. See how the periapsis is moving towards breaking through the surface. Very, very good. Okay, I can actually go ahead and go back to a zero pitch. I don't think we're going to have a problem this time. Plenty of fuel here. In fact, I'm actually going to pitch down 10 degrees. Apoapsis is getting ready to go, or periapsis is getting ready to go positive. This flight is going to work. Why I didn't think to remove that extra weight from the launch vehicle earlier, I have no idea. But I finally have. We have a positive apoapsis, and we have plenty of time for it to reach at least 70 kilometers, which means this flight is going to Duna. When it reaches 70, I will cut the main engines. I did not mean to hit that key. I'm going to have to rebind that to something that's out of my way so that I don't accidentally hit it. All right, now that we have finally achieved a successful orbit, we have 2,000 liters of fuel in the booster stage remaining. Check our vessel information. That's going to represent about 1,481 meters per second in delta V. I do believe that is going to get us to Duna. All right, now we will refer to the protractor. And we're looking for this number, our angle to prograde, to reach, well, this is the difference between our current angle to prograde and the angle to prograde that we need for a Duna transfer. When that reaches 0, we will burn for Duna. And that's going to be in the neighborhood of around here. Accelerating time. Turning prograde quickly because it's almost time to burn. And as we come into position, we burn. According to this, we'll need just under 1,000 meters per second of delta V to get transferred to Duna, and we have about 1,500 in that stage. Good. Mass is or more quick. Over send where you don't have. I was looking at some stuff. I was hurt. Just that. So that's what. And we have Kerbal escape. Excellent. And now going to go ahead and warp time ahead to that escape. Let's zoom out, have a look at our course. All right. Assume prograde. And let us burn. And think that some all this some Rendez or even to have a sections and exist. Irons on. System machine. Getting close to burnout on this stage. Very close. Staging that away. Back to map view. As we look for our encounter. The green line on there shows our closest, where our closest approach to Duna will be along the orbital path right now. And now it's over here. And it's getting shorter. So that should be where we see our encounter happen. There we are. We have a Duna encounter in 100 days, 104 days. Excellent. All this work is finally paying off. All right. And according to this, our closest approach is 39 megameters, which would be about 39,000 kilometers, I think. Anyway, let's see if we can bring that down just a little bit. Alright, we've got it down to 350,000, or 350 kilometers, I believe that is. That is going to be good enough. And so now, we can go ahead and put the protractor away and advance time for the trip to Duna. It's hard to tell from here, but I think we're coming in over the poles again, but in this case, that's actually a good thing. And yes, we're coming in under the pole. Alright. Moving into apoapsis, we're technically in orbit around Duna now. Moving into periapsis, excuse me. We don't have an apoapsis just yet. And because of our mapping needs, this is one time when a polar orbit is actually a good idea. Have a look from ship view. There we are. And now orienting retrograde. And let us begin deceleration. Looks like we should not have a problem having enough fuel for braking. As long as we can get this thing down onto the surface in one piece on a kethane deposit, fuel will not be an issue. We're almost to capture point. When our eccentricity goes below 1, we will have capture and an actual orbit. Then it's just a matter of bringing it down to something appropriate for running a satellite mapping run. We have orbit. It's fracking huge right now, but it's an orbit. Reaching for a periapsis of about 150 kilometers, I think. All right, now we swing around to periapsis up here, bring the apoapsis down to 150, and we can commence mapping. And for a mapping assignment, a polar orbit is perfect. Okay, turning retrograde and getting ready to burn. Hopefully my goof with the time acceleration direction does not mess us up. Apoapsis coming down. Down to 200. $150 by 148. That, my friends, is good enough. It's enough to make the markers jitter. That's close enough for me. All right, now our ship is in orbit. We can go ahead and turn the orbital information off for now. Turn smartass off. Activate the kethane controller and the detection module. Start the detection process. And you can see here that it is painting on the screen where our position is over the planet. And I could time accelerate this up to a point. And you can see it's painting a white dot on the screen for every spot that it checks and does not find kethane. When it does, it will show information down here, the last known latitude and longitude. Here it will show the current depth and volume of the kethane deposit, and it will paint a green dot on the screen at that location. Over the course of time, the entire surface of Duna will be mapped for, except for perhaps the very extreme poles. But the whole surface of the planet will be mapped for where the kethane deposits are located. Hopefully, we'll find one close to where Jebediah is. Ideally, he's sitting on one. We can only hope. There. It's hard to see. You can't see it here. Okay, now you can. Green dots being painted there. And I'm going to turn the detection sound off because it's irritating. Those green dots indicate a kethane deposit. And as the orbit continues, we will be able to map all of them. And you can see how it curves around when it goes over the pole. And then it's continuing up this way as it comes around this side of the planet. Our orbit is steady, the planet is rotating, and so each pass will map a different part of the planet. And eventually, we'll build a pretty good map of where the kethane deposits are. And we will proceed to then land as close to the one, as close at whatever one is closest to where Jebediah is as is possible. And I'm going to go ahead and call this a video for now, because this mapping operation is bound to take a while, even at 50x, and I'm probably going to run it at 10x just to have a little bit more precision in the map making. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'm out of here.